everybody, and welcome back to Higher Density Living. Jason had shared an article with me that came on the Associated Press after the official news agency of the Kremlin released it. So I'm trying to wrap my head around it. I haven't read the whole thing, but I read a couple lines. And I think in a term of context, first of all, we're apolitical over here. All war is bad. All conflict is bad. Anything that can hurt human life or planetary life should not be done. But regardless of that, there's still some interesting things happening over there in Russia that I think we should talk about. And for some time, their head of defense, or whatever the gentleman's name is, underneath Putin, says they have a very open policy for talking about extraterrestrial craft, that sort of technology, extraterrestrial life, things of the sort. And they have become more open with sharing things that they find. So without further ado, Jason, let's go through this. So the official TASS news agency, TASS, T-A-S-S, said today, and what day was this on? Do we have a date for this? I don't know what the day is.
I think it was last week is when I saw it.
All right. So the official TASS news agency said today that scientists have confirmed the landing of an alien spaceship carrying giant people with tiny heads. Okay, first of all, I don't know if there was a translation thing between Russian and English before it hit the Associated Press. But if they're saying giant people with tiny heads, like, that's hysterical if that's a direct word-for-word translation. So, Moscow said that, yes, in fact, an alien spaceship landed in Russia carrying giant people with tiny heads. So let's get into what giant people and tiny heads actually are.
Yes, I think this is important.
The report was the latest strange tale in the official Soviet media, which undergoes the policy of glanost, which means openness in Russian, having recently told of other sightings of unidentified flying objects and alien creatures. Okay, here is the quote. Scientists have confirmed that an unidentified flying object recently landed in a park in the Russian city of Voronezh. TASS, which is the news agency, said in a dispatch from the city 300 miles southeast of Moscow. They have also identified the landing site and found traces of aliens who made a short promenade about the park. So these giant, tiny-headed aliens were just taking a good old Victorian stroll through southeastern, park in Russia. Okay.
Well, we always picture, I think the giant people is important because we always, when we look at different races, if you want to use that word, or species of extraterrestrial beings, we always picture them, the grays or something like that, the super short, big heads. This
is the exact opposite.
I think in there they give the height, what the people.
Oh, I haven't even gotten there yet because there's something interesting. They said that they made a short promenade about the park, so that means they're bipedal. That means they walk like you and me. You see what I'm getting at here?
Yes.
Just the context. Yes. Wait a minute. These things walk around? I'm trying to look at this objectively, like I've never even heard this before. Okay, so TASS said that Voronezh residents saw a large, shining ball or disc. I guess you can't tell if you're underneath it, if it's round or dish-shaped, because it's a circle, right? It's hard to distinguish. Hovering over the park. They reported that the UFO landed and up to 3 creatures similar to humans emerged, accompanied by a small robot, TASS said. Okay, now, let's get into the descriptions here. The aliens were 3 or even 4 meters tall, which is about 9 to 12 feet, but with very small heads. The news agency quoted a witness saying they walked near the ball or disc and then disappeared inside. Okay, so
number one, if this is true, something is below or underneath that park.
Yeah, they wouldn't just land on just a strange old park. Listen, you're going to, and you're going to be seen. You're not that advanced and think, oh, nobody's here. They wouldn't be so brash to do that. And then the fact that they walked near the ball or disc and then disappeared inside tells me that this disc has to be so sufficiently large to absorb multiple individuals that are about 12 feet tall. Like, could you imagine the door to the ship to allow people to walk through?
Yeah, exactly.
I'm 6'5". In doorways on normal ones are about 6'8". Like, I couldn't imagine someone screaming at 12 feet and then just disappearing after they were walking around. And so it says here, the report was similar to a story last summer in the daily newspaper, Socialist Industry, that's the name of their newspaper, hilarious, which told of a purported close encounter between a milkmaid and an alien in the central Russian Perm region. First of all, Jason, can you explain to everybody what a milkmaid is? So in that report,
look at Russian milkmaid.
Yeah, in that report, Lyubov Medvedev was quoted as saying she encountered an alien creature resembling a man, but taller than average with short legs, which means that the torso must be incredibly long.
Mm-hmm.
The creature, she said, had only a small knob instead of a head. Oh, fucking wait a minute. A knob. First of all, we're talking about tiny heads and knobs.
I've seen pictures of like almost like light bulb shaped heads.
Yeah,
small light bulb shaped heads.
Which tells me that the arms would have to be long to match the length of the torso, but then the legs short. What a strange looking creature.
Well, I've heard of different alien species that have small heads. We all get into the large head thing, but as well as I do, your gut biome is they call it the second brain or whatever. But
they got a huge gut biome.
Yeah, I was listening to Alexander Huberman, and he was talking, Stanford neuroscientist. He was talking about that actually most of our emotions and feelings and all of that come from our gut, not our brain.
Yeah.
So, you could have, just because you have a large head doesn't mean that you have, large brain matter.
No, it doesn't make you more intelligent.
Yeah. And then the robot is interesting too, because it had to be collecting information. That had to be a drone or something like that.
It means they have a technology, just from reading this, that manages surveillance for them. It probably told them, it's probably time to go. We got exactly what we needed. This atmosphere is not good for your body. We got to get back in the thing. Which is also interesting, which tells me, are they immune to our atmosphere? Because you can't think about it. Remember when the conquistadors showed up in the South America and the Amazon?
Mm-hmm.
They brought a bunch of disease. The Europeans brought disease. What happens when another planet with a totally different type of bacteria and everything shows up? That means they were completely pristine to not bring any sort of biological impact. And 2, they're also immune to anything we could possibly have here. And 3, our gravity from being on our planet didn't destroy their bodies. Each planet has
we know with Alan on the White Sands incident that we encourage people to listen to. We did like 20 fucking episodes on it.
Yeah.
He had an issue with, they had to like quarantine basically, and to deal with the gravity.
That's precisely correct. I spoke with a gentleman recently on the Turtle podcast who specializes in extraterrestrial colonization. So if we were to go colonize other planets, what the difficulties would be. And gravity is a massive difficulty.
Mm-hmm.
It's, so I find this very interesting. So let's keep going here. In the report, it said that onlookers were overwhelmed with fear that lasted for several days. That means people are just absolutely in shock with what they're looking at. You got these knob-headed, 12-foot slender people walking around with a little robot, walking out of this UFO, and then taking a good old stroll through a Russian park. I'd be like, I don't know what's happening. My life would be ass backwards and upside down.
Let's just, I know this is live, but let's do it this way. Let's look that park up. I'd be curious because it gave the name of the park. I'm curious what would cause them. The risk is there. They knew they were going to be seen. They knew that they had to get out of they knew they had to take this robot to get out of. They were on, alien species that are millions of years more evolved than us don't do things just cause.
No, they're not.
They didn't have a piston go out in their spacecraft.
Right.
They didn't have an
Oh,
exhaust leak issue.
Jason,
Something. What else is going on?
I figured it out. I think I get it. So first of all, I found the park. Voronezh looks like a beautiful place, by the way. They have a ship museum there, but the parks they're substantially gorgeous here in the area. But there's something very specific to the Voronezh area. Would you like to know what it is?
Yes.
Voronezh has the Voronezh radar, which is the current generation of Russian early warning radar for providing long-distance monitoring of airspace against ballistic missile attacks and aircraft monitoring.
Oh, here we go.
It's the same thing that happened with the UFO sightings with our earlier radar technology that happened in the 30s and 40s here in the United States.
Yes.
We had very dirty radar doing the same sort of thing. There seems to be a correlation between these sort of radar installations and extraterrestrial beings showing up in confluence of essentially the technology of that area. I'd be interested to know how far that radar is, and they've put them all over Russia, that type of radar called the Voronezh radar. I'd be really interested to know how close that is to the park, but I have to go a little deeper. So let's go to the next part about this here. So Zhenrik Silanov, the head of Voronezh Geophysical Laboratory. So they have a geophysical laboratory specifically there in that place. They're doing a lot of research, right? It's like a Los Alamos of Russia. Told TASS. So this guy that's working for a government-run research laboratory told the Kremlin news media that scientists are investigating the report, who were investigating the report, found a 20-yard depression with 4 dents, as well as 2 pieces of unidentified rock. Oh my God. They found a 20-yard depression? That means there's 60 feet of craft. That's a huge craft. But the thing is, if it's 60 feet in diameter, think about the area which that thing's actually taking up, right? Just a massive 60-foot circle. That's fabulous. And it had 4 deep dents, which tells me that's probably their landing gears, as well as 2 pieces of unidentified rocks. So they actually have physical evidence that happened from this. So you have the general public watching these aliens take a stroll with their robot, these knobheads. You have a depression in the ground from where the craft was just sitting after people went over and investigated it. A government-run facility is looking at the depressions in the ground. So there's no manipulation. This is like broad daylight. So at first glance, they look like sandstone of a deep red color. First of all, I love sandstone of a deep red color. We see that all the time over here in New Mexico. We see it in the George O'Keeffe area. We see it, up in Moab in Utah. So it says, however, mineralogical analysis, because they are a geophysical laboratory, has shown that the substance cannot be found on Earth. TASS quoted Silanov, the scientist, saying, however, additional tests are needed to reach a more definite conclusion. So whatever they're looking at, they've never even seen it before. And Silanov said the landing site and path taken by the aliens were confirmed by using biolocation method of tracking. But TASS did not explain what that was. What the hell is that? Does that mean they were leaving a residue and they were analyzing the ground and they would just essentially scan the area for a change in the biology, the biome? I don't know. Further confirmation came from witnesses who were not told of the experiments whose accounts match precisely with scientific findings, TASS said. Oh my God, this is... The TASS report said residents also reported recent sightings of a banana-shaped object in the sky. Dude, I can't... These translations are hysterical. We got knobheads, milkmaids, banana-shaped objects. And in July, TASS disputed a report in the socialist industry quoting a UFO specialist, A. Kuzovkin, saying that a 26-foot wide patch of burned ground near southern Moscow is probably caused by landing of UFO. So some guy was just throwing shit out there. But TASS said it was just a haystack fire. That's funny that they have haystacks just outside of Moscow.
Yeah, well, I mean, which tells you, you have pictures of the park and stuff, which tells you, for me, what I'm seeing here is typical, and people need to understand this. Like I said earlier, they don't do things that are not for the maybe you can explain this a little bit better. If you're a far advanced civilization, your conscious development is going to be maybe your fourth entity, maybe your fifth entity, maybe your sixth entity, doesn't matter. You everything you do is full of love and light and intention. Even on if you're fifth entity service to self, that's still, and these people could be service to others, service self, but even service to self, they're doing things with intention.
Yes,
this is not just like just like, hey,
going around.
Yeah, this is not when there's a UFO sighting, it's you're not taking them by surprise.
No, not at all. So let's talk about this area specifically, real quick, of Voronezh, and then we can finish this up. So not only, it says it's one of the leading sectors of the urban economy with mechanical engineering, metalworking, electronics industry, and food industry. So they have production plants for missiles, aircraft engines, oil and gas. They have a pharmaceutical firm owned by Abbott Laboratories called Veripharm over there. It's headquarters of the first mobile telephone and wireless technology in that area. They are the leading place for agricultural engineering, other aircraft production, and I don't know what this means, but chemical automatics. So, and also semiconductor research, which includes plasma chemical processes, technical chemical equipment, and liquid operations. This is like a super high-tech area of Russia for filling their war machine and other parts of the industry. So it's only appropriate that they would take. Here's the park. It's a beautiful park. Trees, like beautiful brick pathways, nice benches, gorgeous architecture all around it. I'd take a stroll if I was an extraterrestrial. I'd be like, so this is where all the tech's coming from, But no, I just find that it's an interesting coincidence. But, Russian news media put it out directly from the Kremlin, and then it was immediately picked up by the Associated Press. So interesting stuff going on here. This probably won't be the last thing that we see. So, Jason, thank you very much for sharing this.